subtle sexual innuendos. Now, if she makes playful or double entendres or those types of comments, one, she's thinking about it, right? Women aren't going to bring up sex or any kind of dirty sex talk if they're not at least thinking about it. Okay. If they, especially if they don't like you, they want the conversation to flow the furthest thing away from sex. So they're not going to bring that shit up if they don't like you. So if they're bringing it up, they're thinking about it, and it's actually a good sign. Now, most guys will put their foot in their mouth. Okay. We had this conversation in Wolfpack, one of the brothers in there. We were talking about how when a woman brings that sort of thing up, oftentimes it's a shit test. And he's like, I don't get it. Isn't that a good thing? Don't we want to jump on that and take advantage of that? It's like most guys think that. Most guys think, oh yeah, I'm going to jump in here and just immediately get really sexual with a chick. And a lot of times it's a shit test and it'll turn them off. You know, one of the pickup artists out there, Style, right? Better known as Neil Strauss, talks about this in the book The Game. And he says women will do that sometimes just to see if you'll get too sexual too soon. And, you know, if, oh, he just wants me for sex, him, right? You know, even though, like, yeah, we're guys. Of course, we don't just want you for sex, but Jesus Christ, this is why we're out here. Fun-filled opportunity for sex to happen. Don't kid yourselves. So what he would say is if a woman brought up a sexual innuendo or talked about like how horny she is and how she all the time, or how crazy she is in bed and she likes all the toys and whips and chains and shit like that, he would just put his fist out and be like, respect. Just shut that down, right? Respect, right? There's also lots of different ways to say that, like, oh, I'm a choir boy, or just say, you're the one that brought it up, you know, whatever. You know, there's lots of different ways to handle that. And it's often best, a good rule of thumb, that it's just to treat it like a shit test. Okay. Now, some guys will say, no, there's ways to do it and there's ways to escalate. Okay, fine. But for 99% of you guys out there, treat it like a shit test. Okay. You're not going to escalate things the way you're hoping. There's lots of different things that women do, but they're all subtle. So just be perceptive at this sort of thing. Mike says, I have a bracelet that's the solar system. Gals love it. Oh, yeah. Yeah. If you have any kind of crystals or, you know, what I used to like to wear occasionally on the dating circuit was I had a, what was it? It was a Leo necklace, right? Because women are all into astrology and, you know, all that kind of woo-woo shit. And I'm into the woo-woo, not necessarily astrology, but that sort of thing is good to know. If you understand the concept of the astrological signs and all that kind of stuff, you can really use that to your advantage because women are totally into it, you know. There was a video from like 3 years ago where a guy walked up to a gal, or he was walking up to different gals on the street, and he would walk up to him and say, hey, what's your sign? And no matter what the chick said, he would go, Aries. Well, I could never. And he'd just walk away. And the girls were like, what? What do you mean you can never? And it made all these women qualify to him. It was hilarious to watch. Literally any sign they said, they would walk up. He's like, what are you? They're like, Capricorn. Capricorn. I could never. And he would walk away. Like, or if you understand, certain signs go together really well, like all that kind of stuff's fun to know. There was a website that someone came up with 2 years ago where you put in any 2 astrological signs and it would come up with some bullshit reason why they were super compatible. And you could use that like when you were texting with a chick and you'd say, hey, just curious, your profile says that you're a Libra, right? Well, I happen to be I happen to be an Aries. Fascinating. I just looked it up on this website. We're totally compatible apparently. And all of a sudden the stars are aligning, right? And she believes in this soulmate bullshit. Use that shit to your advantage, guys. It's great. Mike says, I crack cheese-related jokes with Cheese Maiden, and she snort laughs at all of them. Perfect. Cheese Maiden. That's an inside Wolfpack joke, guys. Charles says, yep, this is why I say dad jokes are a high-tier game as long as you own them and don't overuse all of the time. Yeah. Top tier dad joke game, bro. Especially when you're a single dad. Is perfect. Perfect game. Women love to play games. That's why we call it game. Absolutely. The key pro skill is making her play by your rules, not hers. Right. And that's an exercise in frame, right? And if she won't play by your rules, she doesn't like you. Move on. Exactly. Stop Stop trying to get chicks to like you who don't like you, right? Walk through open doors. Erkin says, there is a cat person in the manosphere. Thank God. Unlike all the other dog obsessed red. It's funny. I wouldn't have described myself as a cat person if you talked to me 6 or 7 years ago, right? I had my dog, my professional podcasting dog, Sadie, who passed away in January. And I had her since 2012. And I before her, if you ever talk to me, I was like, I'm a dog person. Cats don't love you. Cats tolerate you. Cats aren't, cats don't have people, they have staff or some shit, And then my daughter talked me into getting a cat. She really wanted a cat. And I was like, as a single guy out on the dating circuit, having a dog is kind of like having a boat anchor. Like having a dog is very much like having small children. They need to be cared for all the time. You always need to find someone to watch them. And my dog, I would leave her in the house. She was pretty good about this. I couldn't leave her outside because she was an escape artist, but I would leave her in the house and she would be in the house for hours and hours and hours. She had a steel bladder, poor thing. And so I'd go out on dates and come back in, like rush back home to like let her out and stuff. And it was always this thing where I had to get back to the dog. And I was like, man, when she passes away, I'm going to get a cat because cats are a little more self-sufficient. Yeah, they might not love you or whatever. Well, I ended up getting a cat before she passed away. And that was when I was dating Marine Corps chick. I took her cat because she ended up with a cat from a previous boyfriend or something. The guy got the cat and then they broke up and then she was stuck with this cat. And she didn't want the cat, and my daughter wanted a cat, so I was like, "Oh, okay, I'll take that cat." So that's my female cat, Dr. Kit. Dr. Kit is what her name is, and man, I love that cat. She is such a great animal. She's so cool. And then a couple years later, my former father-in-law, he had his barn cat had a litter of cats, and my daughter was like, "Dad, can we take one of these kittens? This one here, he's the runt of the litter and no one's taking him. And I'm worried about him. And I'm worried that grandpa's just going to take him out to the river and throw him in the river. Cause that's how he is. And I'm looking at this pictures of this baby cat that she's holding up. And I was like, yeah, I'll take him. Sure. Cause I was like, when my dog passes away, the female cat is going to be lonely. And so I should get another cat. That was a bad idea, but because they fight all the time. And so my daughter brings this cat home. Turns out he wasn't really the runt of the litter. He just had a shitty attitude problem. He was hissing at everybody and no one wanted him because he was hissing at everybody because he had a bad attitude, right? Well, I take him and he's the most loving cat, most loyal cat I've ever seen in my life. And so like both these cats have dismantled my paradigm that cats don't love you. I'm like, no, they totally love you. They want to be in my room all the time. My boy cat wants to cuddle all the time. In fact, in the middle of the night, he climbs up and he starts floofing my face at like 2 a.m. He likes to floof my face and then cuddle with my arm. And like, he'll just lay there for the next 3 hours, like, no, they love the shit out of you. Forget it. Okay. Anyway, went off on a tangent there. Curiosity about your dating life. Okay. If a girl suddenly asks if you're seeing anyone, she's trying to see if you're single, for one. And what most guys do is if they're not seeing anyone, they say, oh, no, I'm not seeing anyone, right? Thinking that's a good thing. Okay. If let's say it's a chick you're meeting socially, it might not be that big of a deal. It's probably not the end of the end of the world if you say something like that. But if you're actively on the dating circuit and you're on dating apps and a girl asks you if you're dating other people or if you're seeing other people, it's the worst thing to say, no, I'm not seeing anyone right now. Because you're clearly on the dating circuit, you're clearly on the apps, and that just tells her subconsciously that you don't, right? Like other women don't like you. Okay. So don't ever say that. And especially if you want to build up a rotation of women, you have to communicate that you have a rotation of women, right? So you got to at the very least say, I always have room for one more. That's a better way of saying that than say, oh no, I'm not seeing anyone else. Women don't like me very much, right? Like women like men that other women like. Use that to your advantage.
New episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Subscribe now.